Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today we have a few different topics. Now, one of which is how angry I am with the Irish government, even though I'm not currently living there. Now, last time I mentioned something I didn't like about Ireland, someone got very upset with me. They actually did leave comments on the video. They ended up deleting them, and then obviously, I don't know, maybe they felt stupid or something. But then they actually followed it up by messaging me on Instagram, and then eventually blocked me on there, so I can't even show you those either. But basically their issue was that I had dared to be upset by something that had happened in Ireland. And this is not going to be politics, by the way. Don't talk about politicians. I don't care. I don't like any of them. What this will be discussing is just rules that they have implemented recently that I think are dumb. Anyway, so yeah, for that last person who got upset that I dared to have an opinion, I am an Irish citizen on a temporary US visa. At some point in the future, I have to leave the US unless something else changes. So yes, things that are happening in Ireland absolutely do impact me, and I have absolutely every right to talk about them. So that's what we're going to do. And yeah, I don't know how many people are aware of it, but I tried to avoid posting about it too much because I was super angry when I saw that it had come in. I just shared something today on Instagram and said about it. I've gotten a lot of messages from sharing it, and what that is the fact that in its wisdom, and that wisdom is with the heaviest sarcasm, air quotes, I can possibly fathom, the Irish government has implemented a speed limit change in Ireland, reducing speed limits across the board on all roads. Because we know arbitrary, grand, sweeping rules work so wonderfully all the time. Again, just for people who are deaf to sarcasm, that is more sarcasm. I have always spoken about how I disagree with modern speed limits anyway, because they are literally a one-size-fits-all arbitrary rule, which does not work. It's like one-size-fits-all clothes. It ends up not fitting anyone. You know, well, 1 or 2% of people who happen to be this, you know, perfect fit for a human of that particular size. But yeah, basically no one else. And that's how I feel about speed limits, because like, this bike obviously doesn't need to do the same speed as that truck, for instance. This can stop faster, turn faster, accelerate faster. And this is kind of a generalization, but I'm going to do it anyway because I do believe it, is most motorcycle riders are less distracted than most car drivers or truck drivers, and also in general more skilled. Now that's actually looks like a truck that's actually used for work, so that person might be very skilled driving the truck. I don't know. So it is a generalization. I'm not going to start pointing at cars and saying that it's fact or whatever. But certainly, in my experience, most people who ride bikes in most capacities tend to be a lot more skilled and also care about their skills than most people in cars. Most people in cars these days, you know, don't really care if they improve their skills as a car driver, and or, you know, care about paying attention all the time. You don't have a choice on a bike. You are paying attention all the time. You know, you can't really use a phone or whatever else. More modern bikes do have some doodads that will try to distract you, but again, you know, as I said, it's a generalization for sure. But yeah, I think in general, more skill, less distracted than most car drivers. So I really don't think speed limits fit, you know, me and a 98-year-old person who has slowed down. Nothing wrong with that, but again, why are we held to the same standards? It's one stroke for everyone, and it's stupid. I think a lot of Irish speed limits could have already been adjusted upwards. They've been the same since cars were, you know, a lot worse. Both being able to handle speed, suspension, brakes, everything. And you know, now we've just lowered speed limits even more, even though, like I said, there's definitely an argument to be made to raise them. So I think that's horrifically wrong. Ireland, you know, large chunks of the UK and whatnot are already becoming quite unenjoyable for anyone who is like an automotive enthusiast, and I include bikes in the word automotive, which I think is correct. You know, it's correct to include it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's already tough because you got average speed cameras. They're adding more average speed cameras. You know, if that was ever put to a vote, I would have voted against it. You know, I think speed cameras in general are guilty until proven innocent, which is the opposite of how the law is supposed to work. You know, I think you should be able to go about your day without being recorded to see are you doing something wrong. You know that, and again, purely opinion. I know not a lot of people won't agree with that. You know, and in general, I am actually against most regulations anyway. Some are good, you know, and it's one of those things that I would generally just vote against regulation anyway, because I don't trust any government ever to implement it fairly and honestly without sneaking in some nonsense and you know, and implementing it incorrectly. I'm not going to get into examples because that's just how I feel about it. And yeah, the speed limit drop thing, let me know what you think, especially if you're living in Ireland and if you've seen any of the speed limits change yet. I'm not sure when this video will release, so it could already be, you know, they changed it over signs. Personally, I think it's a grossly ridiculous thing that's happened because no one ever voted on it. Ireland is supposedly a democracy. Speed limits are something that affects everyone every day, and I don't understand how that wasn't voted on, because I guarantee you it would have lost. I genuinely think it would have lost. You know, it's like on the internet, the people who are loudest tend to be people of extremes. So you can't really, you know, I don't think anyone's going to be loud about being like, all roads should be unlimited. That's honestly kind of ridiculous, because unfortunately you do have people who would take that too far. Otherwise, you know, roads could be unlimited. Most people self-regulate. You know, myself and Aidan Clear, when we were back in Ireland, we would go a certain speed on pretty much every road because it's what was comfortable for us. We knew we could react in time. You know, we could see far enough ahead, and you know, so I think if you know what you're doing, you can self-regulate. Like I said, there'll always be the outliers, but I just think that reducing speed limits everywhere to try catch outliers is ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think. I just think it's stupid, and I hate that it's just yet another chip on, you know, automotive enthusiasts' hopes and dreams, you know. It's not like Ireland. Yeah, look, I'm not going to keep going, but it was already bad and now it's worse. That's how I look at it. And I just think it's a farce that it was never communicated. No one had time to really protest against it. Like, I'm confused as to what a democracy is if you don't get to talk about these things. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't. And then another question I shall answer. Well, that wasn't a question, the other one. That was me being angry about stuff. But this is a question. I like your sugar skull there, mate. Get off my tail. You don't have a tail, you're a car. But yeah, the other question is, you know, ADVs in general. A lot of people are like, oh, you're too young to be doing ADV still, because the weird thing about this bike is a lot of people don't like it, and you know, it's something I don't understand personally, because I think it's a cool bike. It's fun, it's pretty fast on most roads. You know, I think I've had people witness that when we were over on the Cherahalla Skyway and whatnot, you know, friends who are with me and whatever else. Like, it is a quick bike. It's tall, it has lots of lean angle, it's comfortable, it can carry passengers. You know, I've had toaster on this all the way up to Williamsburg. It's a great bike. However, I do understand where people are coming from, you know, and I have said before that, you know, if I was a smaller person, I'd probably be, you know, on a sports bike still or something more sporty. But the part of it is, right, it's like, yeah, I know most people see ADV bikes as like a step towards a Goldwing. But unfortunately, due to my height and whatnot, I just wouldn't be able to ride them as much. And, you know, I'd rather ride a bike more and be, you know, 2% less happy with it than I would be with like an Aprilia Tuono V4 factory or something. Would I prefer to own a V4 factory? Sure, but I wouldn't use it as much, and it wouldn't be as easy to work on. You know, a huge decision maker for me, and I think I mentioned it in, you know, I did mention it in the recent "What's the best bike to buy in 2025" video I did. You know, a huge thing in my decision matrix is, you know, how easy something is to work on. I genuinely have no interest in stuff that's so technological I can't take it apart and put it back together myself in my own garage, because part of the enjoyment for me of riding bikes is the fact they're affordable. You know what I mean? As in affordable for the income that I am on, without breaking the bank and being in poverty and debt, because I don't owe anything on any of my bikes, and that is the way I would like to keep it, because bikes, you know, they're kind of a risk. If I drop this and insurance decides not to cover it, that's the end of that. You know what I mean? That is all she wrote, so to speak. So yeah, I didn't think that one warranted a full video. It's pretty much just, I like this bike. It's very comfortable. It does everything I personally need it to do, and you know, it's more boring than the Z, but it still does this. You know, so it is plenty fun, plenty fast, and I can have lots of fun on twisty roads, and I've done that several times on it. You know, I've had a blast on twisty roads with this thing. So yeah, that kind of covers that. If you have any more questions for me, please leave them down in the comments, and I will try to address them in the comments or a future video. And yeah, just let me know. I think the speed limiting is nonsense. I think speed limits should go up, not down. Most places, obviously towns and built up areas where kids could be outside and stuff, different story. Rural roads and places where you're only likely to hurt yourself, I think they should go up. You know, give people the freedom to self-regulate a bit. You know, set the max speed where someone can actually make a decision to go a bit faster than the person next to them. We're not robots, we're people, and you know, I firmly believe in actually letting people be people, letting them have fun when it's not going to harm anyone. You know, that's really, really important to me. And yeah, the whole ADV thing, like I said, it's fun, it suits me, and it's comfortable, and I can fix it. So that's pretty much. I love the V-Strom, and I wish more people love the V-Strom, but I'm not going to let it take anything away from my day if they don't. I love it, and that is what should matter to everyone. You know, don't buy a bike to please a crowd on YouTube. Don't buy a bike to please your friends. Buy the bike you want. Buy the bike that makes you happy. That's how you get the most enjoyment out of it. So that's it. As always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. If you have any questions, anyone, please leave them in the comments below, or you can message them to me on Instagram. I know a lot of people prefer that. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Adios. Outro crew. What is your thoughts on, you know, selling all the bikes that you have and starting again? I'm not saying that's what I'm thinking of doing. I'm just saying I have some crazy ideas that I think I could execute if I sold some bikes. So what would you think? If you have like a plan that you think would be a really cool life experience, but it would require you to sacrifice some of the things that you own that you love, but you know, are kind of like tying up money to do things, what would you do? Would you sell them or would you keep them? And yes, one of these things is like super cool, and I really want to do it. Let me know. And it is biking. It involves bikes. All right, bye, outro crew. I'm going to Clayton to get some dinner.